Hi everyone, and welcome back to this series on relationships during the corona pandemic and beyond. So today I want to talk to you about a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is the subject of expectations and what happens when the people who are close to us don't meet our expectations. So take a moment now to think about when the last time was that you expected someone to do something or act in a certain way and they didn't do it, and how you felt, what impact that had on you. What I find is that most people, myself included, if we're expecting something from the people we love or even the people who we're not that close with, and they don't do that, what ensues is oftentimes anger, disappointment, frustration, and all those things that are really not all that pleasant. So I want to talk about how to deal with that today. And first, I want to tell you a quick anecdote. It's a personal story, actually, about me and what happened when I moved to Israel with my 8-year-old son. And this, for me, is just a great illustration of how things can go wrong when we expect things. So, what happened was this: when I moved back to Israel many years ago, I came with an 8-year-old. And one of the things that he was always tasked to do since he's been 3 years old, he's helped me set the table for dinner, and that's just one of his chores. And he's been really good at that from 3 years old. And when we came here when he was 8, I still expected him to set the table among other chores that were his responsibility in the house. And what I noticed is that after moving to Israel, he just wasn't doing a very good job setting the table. And in particular, he wasn't putting glasses on the table, and usually I serve water when we eat. And I found myself getting more and more frustrated with him, kind of annoyed. And really, to be brutally honest, the things that were going through my head were, oh my gosh, he must be really mad at me. I brought him, we had a great life in Manhattan. Maybe he's a little bit angry at me, so he's kind of showing me by not putting the glasses on the table. Some other thoughts that I had in my head were, oh gosh, all these great manners that I raised him to be such a gentleman and to help out in the house, and now we've moved to Israel, and Israeli kids are known to be really cheeky and independent. I'm like, oh no, all the manners are flying out the window and all this education I've given him. And those were the kinds of things that were going through my head, and I was getting more and more frustrated. Anyways, so what do you think it was? Was it the fact that he was getting back at me for moving him away from his wonderful life in New York? Or was it that he was quickly becoming a cheeky Israeli and no longer helping out with the chores? You can write it in chat and pause this video. Okay, I hope you've all written something. So here's the answer. The answer is that my son could no longer reach the glasses, because when we lived in Manhattan, they were on a really low shelf. And when I unpacked our lift, when our furniture arrived in Israel, I put the glasses on a really high shelf, and he was only this high, and the shelf was this high, and he just couldn't reach them. So my son couldn't physically meet my expectations. And until I cleared up the misunderstanding, I was feeling really frustrated and kind of upset. And I'm really glad that I had an honest conversation with him about it. And I encourage you all to have honest conversations with the people around you if you're feeling disappointed or frustrated or angry, just to simply clear things up. Because sometimes the answer or the solution is simply that somebody can't physically meet our expectations. Sometimes people can't intellectually meet our expectations. Sometimes people emotionally can't meet our expectations. And sometimes people can't financially meet our expectations. And once we know that, it puts things in a completely different framework and changes the way we look at just about everything. So I invite your comments, and as always, please share this with anyone who you think it can help, and please follow me for more relationship tips and more. God bless everybody. Have a great week.